Welcome back, Steam Machines! On this second part, we're going to create some collectibles. So, collectibles are things that you pick up during the game. They might give you more health point, HP, or mana, maybe for magic things, which is exactly the case for this game, for UK, or the name of your character, or anything else like medikit or ammo, depending on the type of game that you're creating. Now, because this is the easy part, I'm just going to set up 3 different herbs, a green, a yellow, and a red, which will randomly appear on our game. We're gonna set up a little system that allows you to collect them just by going on top of them and gather points as you do so. Once you reach a certain amount of points, it's up to you, I'm just gonna set it to 100, then something will happen. Or in other words, we'll open up the doors to a secret chamber. Here's the code as we left off. Now there is a tile map up here that we designed together. There is a character, UK, or whoever else you've created. UK can move according to the buttons, and the camera follow each and every movement by UK. I want to show you something quite important on the tile map. We created the paths made of one tile, and we created the grass, the garden, the forest created of other tiles. Now, if you have decorated it further, that's absolutely fine. Please do remember the one grass green tile, which is the most common. Doesn't matter which one it is, as long as you remember which one is the most common on your game. Because we're gonna create a for loop. A for loop is a fabulous and easy way to make the computer repeat many times the same operation so we don't have to do it. Now, the herbs that we were talking about, we could place them down one by one, but it would be very tedious and a bit silly really. Let's say that we have 10 or 20, that could be good, but what if we want to place 10,000 of them? Are you going to do 10,000 clicks? That's far too many. However, with the for loop, we can do so. We can make the computer do that for us. So the for loop is going to operate in this way. It's going to check however many tiles of a certain type we've placed down. For me, is the green grass. For you, perhaps is a different thing. And for each of those, it's going to say, well, 20% chance I want to place a green herb. Another 10% I want to place a yellow. And another 5% I want to place a red. Now, if you noticed, 20, 10, and 5, that don't make up 100%. Well, that's absolutely fine, because we don't want our woods to be completely covered in these collectibles. We want the player to go around, hunt for them, and find them after a little bit of a struggle. Otherwise, there is no gaming happening. That's why we just keep the percentages low. The actual numbers you can choose, and it really depends on the size of your map and the however many you want to collect. Okay, so let's set up our for loop, which is found here under loop. Luckily, we just need a couple of blocks. Scroll down a little bit until you find for element value of list. So there's going to be a list. In our case, it's a list of tiles. And for each of those, we're going to make a decision. Actually, the computer is going to make a decision based at random. Now, we need to access that list. And the list of tiles, obviously, can be found under the tiles. So go on scene and scroll down just a little bit until you find this array of, and there's a checkered tile here because you can select whichever you like, locations. As you drag it in, make sure you place it on list. You see these 2 red dots that appear, and obviously list gets highlighted in yellow. Please make sure it slots in properly, and then select which tile you want. For me, it's going to be one of these grass ones. So now we've got access to the locations of all of these tiles. We want to set up a little system that says 20% chance put this, 5% chance put this, 3% chance put the other one. So here's how we do it. We need to create an if statement. An if statement is a very important function in any code. I'm going to give you this beautiful example that I hope will make you understand how they work. Imagine you are waking up in the morning, looking outside the window, and it's sunny. So the if statement says, if it's sunny, get a hat. Then next time you wake up, you look outside the window, it's raining. Well then, the statement should say, else, if it's rainy, get an umbrella. And then the following day, which usually happens in England, it's snowing. So at that point, you'll say, get a winter coat. So you see, in coding it's exactly the same. If this, do that. Else if something else, do that. Else if, else if, else if. You can do it pretty much as many times as you like, no limits. So let's do it for our 3 herbs. As you noticed, I moved a little bit onto the yellow because it's a little bit more complicated here. So let's go to logic and grab the second block. This is a bigger block. You see, it looks like a weird E. Let's grab it in. And it looks like we've got 1 slot. So you see this plus under here? Let's add 2 more slots, and a 1 and a 2. You see you've got these 2 weird hexagons, elongated hexagons, okay? This extra stuff, we don't need it, so I'm gonna click minus. 1, 2, and 3. So now we wanna set up the chances. Well, we just need to look for the block called chance. That's it. It's the first one that shows up. And you can place perhaps 20%. If you see there's too many of them, then lower the percentage. If you see there's too few, then use a higher percentage. I'm gonna set up as 20% as a starting point, but obviously if there's too many, lower the number. If there's too few, increase the number. Now, I could go back to chance and grab another one. However, for those of you on a computer, you can right-click, not left. And if you right-click, you've got this submenu that allows you to duplicate something. If I duplicate it and I drag it into the next one, that will be absolutely fine. If you're on a tablet, all you have to do is press on this with your finger and hold it there for maybe a second and a half, and the same exact module will appear. Click on duplicate, and this time I'm going to put a 5%. So this is how the code works. For each of these tiles, it's going to say 20% chance, then execute this code. After that, check again, and if 10% chance, it's much less, is it? So here's how this code works. For each of the tiles in this list, it's gonna ask, if there's a 1 in 5 chance of 20%, execute this code. If it is, then you carry on to the next block. If it is not, you're gonna go to the next step, but only 10% chance will execute this one. If it does, you execute the code and then exit the loop and go for the next tile. If instead it's part of the other 90%, it's gonna ask if 5% happens, execute this code. If not, it's gonna go out of the loop without placing a single collectible. The collectible in this case is a sprite, exactly as our character. So I need to go back into sprite, grab the first one, and I'm gonna call it green herb. Remember, in coding, use something memorable, because it's not just for you. You might pass on the code to somebody else. So you click on new variable and you go and create green herb. Then go and select it. You can paint your own, or if you scroll down a little bit, there is a pre-made, there we go. You see this, you can use, or you can use one of the trees and modify it. It's absolutely fine, no problem. You select it, click on done, and it will appear. One important thing, the green herb is not a player, it's a type of herb. So I'm going to create a new kind, and I'm gonna call it herb. That's it. I want to now duplicate it, same system, and here and here. Make sure you change this to yellow. Do not rename it, because if you rename it, you're gonna affect the first one as well. Use a new one. So this is gonna be the yellow herb, and finally the red herb. I'm just gonna enter the image to make it a little bit more yellow and a little bit more red. Here we go. We've got 3 different herbs, green, yellow, red, and they are different colors, different icons, but they're the same kind. There is a problem though. They are all stuck on top of our character. So there is another block that we need to scatter them around the various locations. Luckily, this is quite easy to achieve just by going on a scene, scroll down until you find something that says place. And this is the particular one that you want. Place my sprite on top of, and this tells you exactly which one you want to place. Now, before I set crazily one by one these tiles, it's far too many, I'm going to match green with green. And then you see this value here. This is the location. It's gonna have a column and a row, exactly as a grid. All I have to do is click on it, drag and drop it on top of here. Okay, it's really, really important that you click on this and drag it, okay? Once again, click on it and drag it. Perfect. I'm gonna make 2 copies of this, right click, push it here, right click. I might go a little bit off screen for a second, apologies for that. And here you go. Now let's load the game again and we'll see they're all gonna be scattered around. There we go. Actually, our character was right on top of one. That's perfect. You see these are all green. There's lots of green ones. Few too many greens, actually. Why is that? Did you notice something weird in the code? I didn't match these. Sometimes the computer thinks that this is exactly what you're willing to do, but no. Make sure, guys, computers are not very intelligent. Actually, they're not intelligent at all. They're very good at executing your tasks, but if you give them the wrong instructions, unfortunately, they're not going to be able to fix it themselves. So match yellow with yellow and match red with red. As you reload, you're going to see that all the different herbs are placed. There we go. I think there might be a few too many, so I'm just going to lower those percentages. But other than that, I think it's pretty good. I'm just gonna, and this is entirely up to you, I'm just gonna lower this to a 10, this one to a 5, and this one to a 3. And that will give me a good ratio. We need to create something which is called an overlap. So if your sprite is here, something goes on top of it, that is called an overlap. In other coding languages, you might call them collisions. And in brief, this is what we want to create when our sprite goes on top of a herb. Sprite collects the herb gets destroyed, harvested, and we gather a point. So let's see how we can do this. Back to green, because this is an easier way. I'm just gonna scroll down a little bit, making sure that I've got enough space on my screen, and I'm going to sprite looking for the overlap module. So actually, sorry, the block. Here, this is the one that I like to call the whale mouth shaped block. Drag it in and see what it says. It says on sprite of kind player, overlaps with another sprite of kind player. However, take a look at here. This is not a player, this is a herb. I can just switch it here real quick. See that? I change it to match. So when this happens, what do I need to do? Well, I need to destroy the herb because I'm harvesting it and gather a point. So I can just click on destroy. Got it here, destroy my sprite. Place it. In this case, please be very careful about this step. Grab the other sprite, drag it on top of here, and delete whatever else is left. So destroy the sprite. To make it a bit nicer, we add a little animation clicking on that plus. Choose one of these, feel free to play around. Just gonna put a short fountain and keep them short, guys. 100 milliseconds, that means a tenth of a second, because if it's too much, then it's a bit complicated. So next step, we're gonna add a point. So if you hover on top of info, give it a click and change score by 1, that will be enough to complete this level. Go full screen, go around and enjoy collecting the green, yellow and red herbs. And here you go, you see there's the points on top right of the screen are going up, and I can reach as many as I need. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this part. We have created the collectibles and created a little interaction to allow our sprite to collect these herbs and gather some points. Next, we're going to create a level that is unlocked as soon as you reach a certain amount of points. I hope you're enjoying this. If you're struggling, please don't forget to rewind the video, maybe go half the speed, make sure you follow all of the steps, and if not, you can use the code that we provide you so you can jump onto the next lesson. Just in case you're struggling, don't worry, there's absolutely no shame in using some help from time to time. So all yours, guys. I hope you enjoyed, my dear Steam machines, and I'll see you on the next video.